Hello, Peter Hollemans here, the primary software developer for the CoastWatch Data Analysis tool, CDAT. In my previous video, I showed basic CDAT usage and navigation in the data view. In this video, I'll show how to change the data view's color mapping and palette. To start off, on the left-hand side here of the data view, under the Color Enhancement tab, color enhancement is sort of a fancy word for a translation or a mapping from scientific data values in the file to colors on the screen. So for example, in this case, we have data values of 0% albedo being translated to black and 80% albedo translated to white on the screen. So from top to bottom on this left-hand side tab, the histogram here shows the number of pixels for each data value bin. So you can see that lower valued bins towards 0 have a lot of pixels in them, and then it tapers off as you get towards 80% albedo, which is the maximum that we have when we loaded the file in the enhancement range. Then below this histogram, you can see the enhancement sliders. The sliders determine the minimum and maximum of the range. So for example, if I slide this up here, any values below the minimum will be mapped to black. And likewise, any values above this maximum will be mapped to white. And you can see the enhancement function down here changes according to where the sliders are. I can also use the text fields here to explicitly type in the enhancement range values like this. Okay. Now the norm button down here attempts to set the minimum and maximum of the enhancement using the overall data grid mean and standard deviation. So if I reset the view and click the norm button, you can see that it's trying to represent all of the colors all the way from black to white in the image. So I'll go like this and zoom back in. The reverse button is a quick way to swap the enhancement range values in the text fields and in the sliders here. So for example, like this. So when I click reverse, the color mapping is reversed. You can see it here on the color scale as well. And reset is a quick way that once I've manipulated the sliders to reset them back to the maximum extent of the enhancement range when the data grid was loaded. Now, just underneath this, the enhancement function shows the mapping type. For example, in this case, I have a linear mapping. I could also pick a step mapping, and you can see that if I have a step mapping with 8 steps, and I'm mapping from 0 to 80% albedo, then I have steps at each 10% albedo tick mark. The other function that I could use is a logarithmic function. That's typically used for chlorophyll data, which I don't have loaded, so I won't show that right now. So I'll set back to linear enhancement. There we are. Now the second tab right beside the color enhancement tab is the color palette tab. And what we have here is a way to change the color palette itself. So what I have currently is the black to white linear palette. But I have a selection of different palettes in the list here. I could use the HSL 256 palette, which I tend to use for thermal data. I tend to use the black and white linear for visible data. So I'll switch to thermal data, and you can see the HSL 256 palette is mapping low values, i.e. cold, to purple and blue, and high values, i.e. warm, to orange and deep red. So as another example, I'll switch back to channel 1. Actually, you know what? I'll switch to channel 4 and I'll show you the blue-red. Here's another blue to red palette used for thermal data. And down at the bottom of the list here, there's all kinds of different specialty palettes. This is for the vegetation index. Here's one for chlorophyll and chlorophyll anomaly. We have a special palette that we put in for wind. And here's one for sea surface temperature, thermal data, and sea surface temperature anomaly. You can see the change from a reddish area to a bluish area if we were to map sea surface temperature anomaly from say minus 10 to 10, and 0 would fall right in the middle. So that's it for this video where I was showing enhancement function changes and palette changes. In my next video I'll show overlays and how you can overlay graphics on top of the data view to show different geographical features. Thanks for watching.